So how did it go?
Not so great. We had a lot of technical difficulties. The wastegates were not exactly working according to how they should. We did some changing and testing and things like that, and long story short, turns out our wastegate CO2 regulator that attaches to our CO2 bottle was having an issue. So it wasn't a problem with the gates at all. TurboSmart, actually, the rep was there, and he gave us 2 more gates to try. So that was pretty awesome of those guys, but in the end it was just a regulator issue. But because of the boost control issue, we never really got turned up quite as much as we had hoped, so the car didn't run quite as fast as we had hoped. And then in the second round of the race, we ended up having an issue with our AccuSump, which is an oil tank inside the car, and still a wet sump setup, and the oil pressure reached a level that was so high that the AccuSump tank has a safety valve, and the safety valve opened. So during the burnout of the second round, the AccuSump sprayed a bunch of oil inside the car, actually sprayed up onto the windshield in front of me as I was looking out onto the track. So that's what alerted me to the issue, and when I looked down and seen what had happened, I went ahead and just shut the car off and just stopped so that the oil would quit spraying out. We were #1 qualifier with a 741. I think it went 192, and the car that we had been paired with for first round had apparently broken in that last round of qualifying, or sometime during qualifying. So we had a free pass, and the car made a good hit. It left line good. Its 60 foot and all was good. We were starting to, that was basically our first pass that we had control of boost, but we were only making around 37 pounds. So the car ran a 760 something on that pass, but we aborted the pass as soon as we got through third gear. So basically just somewhere past the 8th mile, we let off, coasted through the finish line to like a 762 at 150 or something like that.
Well, how fast has the car been, period?
Fastest the car's ever been was in Maryland at the Hail Mary Derby last November, early November. It went a 707 at 201 and another 707 at 203. But we made 2 clean 707 passes. One went just a little more mile per hour. It should have actually been a little quicker, but we had a pretty good sized wheelie on that pass, which slowed it down just a bit. And then we turned it up further, tightened the limiters down a little bit more, and we think we were probably on a 699 or a very low 7 pass, but the engine broke the cylinder head on the driver's side at probably about the 1,000 foot mark. So just looking at the data, we were faster to the 1,000 foot than the previous passes that went 707. We were maybe 4 or 5 hundredths faster even to the 8th. So it was definitely on at least a 701, 702 pass, and then it broke, and the mile per hour, of course, it was down about 10 mile per hour and still ran a 709.
And then tell me about Chris Moore and who's the other in the first gen?
His name's Stephen Clemens. They're brother-in-laws. Chris Moore, he ended up going #1 qualifier, I guess, in the first round of qualifying. Made a killer pass, went a 748 at 191 or 192, I believe, which is right there where we were at later on during qualifying. He ended up being #2 qualifier after we went to 741. But on his first qualifying pass, where he made the good pass, when he pulled the chute, the wind grabbed the chute and caused him to wreck. He hit the retaining wall, tore the car up pretty badly, and we kind of all thought that he was out. And even though he was #1 qualifier, he wrecked after the finish line. But those guys, scrambled around and found some parts to borrow and fixed some stuff and patched it up, and actually ended up racing and making it all the way to the finals. He made one really fast pass even after the wreck, which I think was like a 750 something at 193, which is pretty incredible because the car had no front end. And then the car started having an issue where it wanted to drive right. The car broke the spindle in the accident. The rotor was bent in the front, wheel was bent in the front. So we suspect he just had an alignment issue, and it maybe had gotten worse. So that may have caused it to pull right worse in the final, and he didn't get to make a clean pass or a full pass.
So are you ultimately happy with the new setup?
So far, we really haven't got enough data to decide, but it seems like it may be, faster than it would have been given the boost level we were on. I mean, typically last year with the old setup, we ran between 40 and 50 pounds of boost, depending on just how good the track was and conditions with the air and the weather. But we went 741 on only about 37 pounds. So that's a good indication that we're making some headway in the changes with the intake manifold. The camshaft, is a bit different. Headers, all the plumbing is larger this year than it was last year. So I think it's a good sign. I think hopefully we'll get into sixes this year.
What's the schedule now?
Next race will be Streetcar Takeover at Bristol, which I think is maybe the last weekend in April. A little more than a month to figure out our oil pump pressure issue and get to that event.